เดินทางมาประจำที่ประเทศไทยแล้วนะคะสำหรับเอกอัครราชทูตสหรัฐอเมริกาคนที่ 43 ท่านทูตกลินเดวิสหลังจากที่ตำแหน่งนี้ว่างเว้นไปยาวนานถึง 10 เดือนค่ะเป็นช่วงเวลาที่ความสัมพันธ์ของไทยและสหรัฐถูกจับตามองว่ากำลังถึงขั้นตกต่ำเมื่อเทียบกับช่วงที่ผ่านมาหรือไม่ด้วยความที่มีรัฐบาลที่มาจากการยึดอำนาจโดยรัฐบาลทหารพร้อมๆกับห่วงเวลาของการเปลี่ยนผ่านประเทศกับการเดินหน้าเข้าสู่รถแมพและเตรียมพร้อมในการจัดการเลือกตั้งแล้วเอกอัครราชทูตสหรัฐอเมริกาประจำประเทศไทยท่านใหม่มีแนวทางมีมุมมองเกี่ยวกับการเมืองความสัมพันธ์ระหว่างไทยสหรัฐซึ่งเป็นมิตรกันมา 183 ปีอย่างไรคืนนี้ตอบโจทย์ดิฉันคุยกับท่านทูตกลินเดวิสค่ะ
The Prime Minister explaining to me his plans and his aspirations. So I'm beginning to get a good sense for what that roadmap is. And we're still allies, and our fortunes and our futures are still bound up together very tightly. When Thailand gets back to a civilian elected government, whenever that happens, our relationship can achieve its very fullest.
Ambassador Glyn Davies, thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much, Kunata.
You just have a meeting with our Prime Minister, General
Yes.
Prayut Chan-o-cha.
Yes.
It takes nearly 2 hours.
A long meeting.
Long discussion.
It was a long meeting, absolutely.
What did he tell you?
Well, what I will not do is tell you what he told me, because it is diplomatic practice not to put words in the mouth of the person you have spoken with. So I will let him and let his people, if they wish, talk about the messages he gave me specifically, but I'll talk a little bit about my messages to him and about the conversation in general. It was a very good conversation. The main purpose of it, for me, was to have an initial meeting with the Prime Minister, to get to know him on a personal basis. I think this is very important, and for any ambassador, especially important to talk to the head of government. So I think that we accomplished that, or I accomplished that. I had a chance to get to know him. That was number one. Number two, it was to talk a little bit about the agenda between the United States and Thailand and what our aspirations are as the United States today here in the kingdom and going forward. And there I talked in very general terms about all of the very important objectives the United States has for the relationship, the many, many ways that we think we should work to expand the relationship, to deepen the relationship.
It turned out that you listened to him much more, or you speak.
I would say that I listened a great deal to the Prime Minister. And you know, this is part of my objective here in Thailand, especially early on in Bangkok and in Thailand. I want to listen more than I talk because I know so little initially, so I need to learn from people. And I want to talk to and listen to people from all different walks of life, all different points of view. This is how I want to do my job initially.
You said you have agenda from the U.S. in discussing with him.
Absolutely.
What's that? What's the agenda?
Well, the agenda is to find ways that we can improve our relationship, expand our relationship, and deepen our relationship. So talking about all of the various issue areas, again, from health to security to trade and investment, people to people, on down the line. Well,
Politics, democracy, is it on your agenda?
Of course. And probably most of the conversation was about that. And most of the conversation was, and this is normal, the Prime Minister explaining to me his plans and his aspirations for normalizing the political situation here and for getting back to democracy. So that
Did
was
you
a big
really
part of it.
ask him specifically on the roadmap of Thailand, 6-4,
I didn't have to.
20 months to democracy?
I didn't have to do that because he was very forthright and forthcoming with me.
He told you?
Without prompting, he told me a bit about that. And of course, I had already had some conversations with others in the government. So I'm beginning to get a good sense for what that roadmap is. This conversation with the Prime Minister was less mechanical than it was, let's say, aspirational, I think, where without telling you specifically what he said, because that would break my rules, where he went into some detail about what it is he hopes to accomplish and how he hopes to get there. So this conversation about Thailand and its political present and hopes for its political future, this was a big part of the conversation.
You must have known the roadmap that the Prime Minister laid out to 5 rivers in the meeting, and he said that in 20 months' time, we will have election mid of 2017.
Right.
Is this roadmap make the United States happy for Thailand timeline in returning to democracy?
Yeah, I'm going to be diplomatic about this because I think it's important to be, because I would like to get away from a paradigm where, all of these specific points about Thailand's progression back to democracy, very naturally, journalists like you ask us these questions. What do you think about it? Does it make you happy? Does it make you sad? It's not important for me as an American ambassador to constantly talk about, we like this, we don't like that, that's not fast enough, that's too slow. That's not the point. The point for us is that Thailand have a process. Thailand make progress back toward a democracy that suits ties, that there be conversations within Thailand, that there be space for a dialogue internally within Thailand between ties.
It's been said that the relation between the US and Thailand right now is at the lowest point because in the past 1 year, Thailand and the US have not been on best terms. The US seems to have said that Thailand have done something wrong and the Thai government would like the United States to understand Thailand more. What are the stands between two friends at the moment?
Yeah, we're still friends and we're still allies, and our fortunes and our futures are still bound up together very tightly, in particular in this most dynamic, important region of the world in Southeast Asia. That doesn't change. Nothing's different about that. Nothing has changed about that. It is true, 18 months ago there was a coup. Our position on that coup, we made very clear at the time. We've repeated since then. As a matter of law and of policy, the United States of America does not favorably view situations when military governments take over from duly elected democratic governments. That's just the way it is. And so by law, certain aspects of our assistance to the military had to be suspended. And by policy, certain practices in terms of contact military to military were lowered. What this didn't change, though, was the other broad spectrum of our relationship. So many things, from trade to commerce to the health agenda to working on the environment, working together on refugees, working together on trafficking in persons, on and on and on. There are so many aspects of our relationship. These are the kinds of things I want to emphasize right now. When Thailand gets back to a civilian elected government, whenever that happens, our relationship can achieve its very fullest potential, but within that framework, there's so much we can do. And this is what I want to emphasize, and this is one of the things that I said to the Prime Minister.
When the US look at Thailand, is the democracy is the main bottom line. Do you see that you really have to take more nuanced approach when looking at Thailand to get more clearer picture or to have more understanding about Thailand?
Well, just speaking for myself, and I'm the new ambassador here, and I'm very proud to have that role. Speaking for myself, there is a lot I have to learn. I don't yet have a personal feel for the situation here sufficiently. I've only taken a few trips to a few places. I've only spoken to a few people in Bangkok. I'm just at the beginning of this journey, you know. In fact, one way I look at it is, Jackie and I, we flew to Chiang Mai. What a beautiful place. And we climbed the 309 steps to Doi Suthep. And I think I am only on step number 7 or 8 of those 309 steps to understand Thailand. So I need to do that. I need to walk up that. I'm very humble about that. I understand what I don't know. So just speaking as America's ambassador, as America's envoy, that process has begun for me. I will move as fast as I can to understand better Thailand. I will, of course, always, because it's my job, speak for the United States and try to articulate or explain our policy here. But the bedrock of that policy is this friendship, this alliance, this cooperation that began so long ago, back in the age of sailing ships in the early 19th century, 9 generations ago. And I am very respectful of that history, and I think our job is to try to set a strong foundation for the next 9 generations of Thai-U.S. friendship and cooperation.
Before you come, it's very critical juncture of Thailand, and perhaps your predecessor, Ambassador Christy Kenny, was criticized a lot of her stance on Thai-U.S. relations. Did she leave you any special message that you have to be extra careful about Thai-U.S. relations?
Christy and I are great friends, and she was, for me, 20 years ago, more than that, a mentor to me early in my career, and she is the best of our ambassadors. I think she did a wonderful job here. Of course, she was here when that change occurred, and it was her job and her role, her responsibility to execute U.S. policy and represent the United States of America at that time. And it was a little bit concerning that after that, so many negative messages came, and many of them were directed personally at her because she articulated U.S. policy. But in the modern era, the age of social media, this, I suppose, comes with the territory, that people will directly on Twitter or Facebook or any one of these platforms express their views, some of them very negative, very caustic, very troubling in a sense. But Christy, as a professional, she understood that that comes with the territory. That's part of the job in today's diplomacy, is to get these kinds of messages. And she never lost sight, I know, of the broader truth of the relationship, that it is a natural relationship of friends and allies. And she tried to nurture that and continue that.
Back to the meeting with the Prime Minister, Prayut Chan-o-cha. Did you put any condition that the United States would like to see more improvement on democracy in Thailand?
Yes, no, I didn't sit there and say, Mr. Prime Minister, you, from our standpoint, we need to see you do this, need to see you do that. I view him as a Thai patriot. I view him as a sincere man who wants to do the best for his country. And in that respect, I think many other Thais are exactly where he is. They want to see the best for Thailand in the future. So I didn't sit there and say, the United States insists on this or requires that. That's not the dynamic here. It's a more respectful dialogue, I think, among equals, among friends, among allies that we try to have. That said, I was clear, and I didn't really need to say it. He almost preempted me that our relationship will have certain limits to it. until Thailand returns to democracy. But we shouldn't let those limits stop us from building building ever greater cooperation and achievements between us.
And did you not mention any details in terms of constitution or the timeline of election that you'd like to see?
I am not drafting Thailand's constitution. It is being drafted by Kun Michai and by the Constitutional Commission. So no, I did not sit there and provide any specific prescriptions about it. What I said to the Prime Minister is exactly what I've said publicly in the few occasions I've had to talk to the media, which is that what we hope to see is an ever-broadening debate occur among all walks of life in Thailand about Thailand's political future. And what this means in more specific terms is if you look at the universal principles that Thailand has subscribed to, and the United States has subscribed to, and almost all nations have subscribed to, in the documents that support the Charter of the United Nations, there are these fundamental principles of, free speech, freedom of assembly, free press, and so this is where I think the emphasis should be as Thailand goes through this very, very difficult process of trying to form up a charter for its political future that we have come to learn and understand in our own experience in the United States that you have a sustained and strong political future in democracy if you have a debate and it's open and it's free among all sectors of society about what that political future, what that democracy should look like.
And what do you think that the United States should do more to try to help or understand this oldest ally, one of the oldest allies?
Oh, sure. Well, that's why I'm here listening and talking to people. I need to understand better what are the conditions here, what is it that is confronting Thailand, what are the challenges here? And the United States will always stand ready to work with and support Thailand in whatever way we can. But in the end, this has to be a Thai democracy. This has to be a Thai process. This has to be Thailand's future that's owned by Thais. It can't be something that's based on any other model because Thailand is unique, just as the United States of America is unique. So it has to be figured out and worked on and struggled on here among Thais. So I just don't think it's useful for me to be providing specific advice or laying down, particular markers. I don't see that as useful here.
Is it the main concern or some concern for the U.S. that the Thai-U.S. relations may not be in a very good shape in the past more than 1 year? And Thailand may be getting closer to other good friends like China.
Yeah.
Is it one of your main concerns?
Everybody asks this question, and I understand why they ask this question. I have much more faith and confidence and respect for Thailand maybe than some others do. I think there's a reason why Thailand was never colonized. I think there's a reason why Thailand maintains its independence, and that's because in your DNA as Thais is this fierce desire to remain independent, to be free of foreign domination. I don't fear Thailand being dominated by anyone, being controlled by anyone. That's not going to happen. Thais won't let it happen. So I don't worry about, if our relationship at the moment is having some difficulties with Thailand, maybe somebody else will replace us as the favored friend of Thailand. Thailand will always be, I think, mindful of its own interests and will always ensure that it remains independent and sovereign and strong and free. And we hope to be part of Thailand's future in a big way. And if others, China, for instance, others are also respectful of Thailand and its independence and its sovereignty, I imagine there's plenty of room for them to have good relationships with Thailand as well.
Your background is special representative of the U.S. on North Korea, and there is some speculation with your background in North Korea whether the U.S. put Thailand in the same category
Of course
with
not.
North Korea.
Oh, for goodness sake. No. North Korea is in a category by itself. It is a pariah state that has ignored its international obligations for 3 generations, that is building a nuclear weapon the world has condemned, that is treating its people in the worst possible human rights fashion. North Korea and Thailand have nothing to do with each other. So I would hope people would take a longer perspective of my career. I've had many, many jobs, and most of my jobs have been jobs that dealt with good friends of the United States. Jackie and I were assigned to and living in Paris, in London. These are strong allies of the United States. My previous jobs working on Asia policy, where we worked to strengthen ASEAN. We first country to send an ambassador to ASEAN, the United States of America, where I worked on a relationship with our good friend and ally, Japan, Korea. So it's that background, plus the fact that I have a long record of managing large organizations in our diplomatic establishment. Those are the reasons that I was assigned here. It has nothing to do with the fact that I worked in North Korea.
Looking at ASEAN, its dynamic of ASEAN community is really coming. Myanmar will have election on the 8th of November, and Vietnam has joined TPP with the US, but Thailand hasn't joined, and Thailand still hasn't had democracy. Will the US rate Thailand when you compare with other countries in ASEAN? Thailand will be seen as having less momentum, less dynamic.
Yes, I understand why you asked that question, but we don't mix form of government or state of affairs politically with these economic questions and issues. TPP stands on its own. It's a trade agreement. And it's an agreement meant to lower tariffs. It's an agreement meant to establish higher standards for business and trade and investment between countries. It's meant to grow the number of jobs. We're very happy about it and proud of it because it encompasses 40% of the world's economies. We think it will be a great leap forward economically for the 12 member states of the TPP, and we hope that Thailand takes a good look at it. And if Thailand is interested in the Trans-Pacific Partnership, we will be the first in line to try to provide information to Thailand and to help decisions be made here about whether or not it makes sense for Thailand, given Thailand's priorities, to join TPP. But it's early days. It's just begun. We haven't ratified it yet. Much work to do. It hasn't even been published yet. So a lot more to come, and we hope Thailand looks at it favorably and deeply.
And how do you see the position of Thailand as the connectivity hub, and especially for the US to emphasize your policy on pivot to Asia? What's your take on Thailand?
Thailand is a key country geopolitically. I talk about it sometimes as the keystone state in Southeast Asia. It's an architectural term. Thailand is at the center of mainland Southeast Asia and links mainland Southeast Asia in many respects with maritime Southeast Asia. It's the second largest economy in ASEAN. It has an educated workforce. It has been in the past and should be in the future a shining beacon example for the rest of ASEAN. So we want Thailand to continue to play a leading and leadership role in ASEAN, and we want to help Thailand do that to the extent possible. We need Thailand to be strong and stable and to have a stable political system, eventually a democracy. We need Thailand to have a strong economy, and we don't just need Thailand to have all those things. ASEAN needs that, the region needs that, and the world needs that.
South China Sea, you see it as very influential place for the U.S. to be in the region, to have your role in South China Sea, even though it provoked anger of China.
Sure. Well, but it's not our role in the South China Sea. We don't have territorial claims to these features in the South China Sea. So we don't have a territorial stake. The point we're trying to make is international law says that certain parts of the ocean should be free for anybody to sail through. And it's very important for the commerce, the trade that fuels economic growth in all of our countries, that international law be upheld. And so as a maritime power, the United States periodically will reestablish the principle that countries should be free, where it is legal, to sail their vessels through. Whether they are cargo ships or military vessels, they should be free to do that. And so that's what we've been doing, these so-called freedom of navigation missions that it's not about picking a fight with China, because we don't claim these features. It's not about trying to raise tensions. We don't want to raise tensions. It's about reestablishing a point in international law that is to the benefit of everybody, and certainly every trading and exporting nation, including Thailand.
I see your picture here. You have photo with President
Yes.
Obama.
Yes.
Did he leave you with any special message before you come to Thailand? Or how this photo important for you?
Well, this photo is important to me because this is a president I love. I think he's a great president, and he will be, I think history will show him as an historical president. So for Jackie and me to have met him, to have had this opportunity to talk with him briefly was a great moment for me. He's my boss. So I work for the president. The message he gave to all of us, I was with a group of ambassadors, was simply to do our best job in representing the people and the government of the United States to the rest of the world, because America is a nation composed of people from all over the world. We want to have good relations with everyone in the world. So he said, go out there and do a good job and don't screw it up.
Your video clip of introduction of you and Madam Jackie to Thailand was
yes.
talk of the town that, this U.S. ambassador speak Thai,
Oh.
and you show some elements that you understand Thai
Yes.
culture.
Well-
did you get anyone to tell you, to coach you about this?
Oh, sure. No, we had some time in America before coming to talk to Thais, to try to learn a little Thai, to study Thai. We still study Thai because we have a long way to go before we can really feel comfortable in the language. But what I did with that time was I read and I read and I read. It's what diplomats do before we go to a country. We read books. And I started with the very beginning and looked at how our relationship began. I looked at the origins of the Chakri dynasty. I studied the kings of Thailand. My favorite king, I think, in addition to the current king, who we claim in small measure as an honorary American since he was born in Thailand, was your great king, Rama IV, Mongkut. I think this man was almost a Henry Kissinger in understanding how the world worked. And he flattered us very much in the mid-19th century when we were a tiny little nation of just a few million people by reaching out to us and establishing a friendship and a relationship with us. Chulalongkorn, Rama V, another man who I think had an excellent understanding of the world, who went out into the world, and who again was a good friend of the United States. So I spent a lot of time reading about this stuff and trying to understand how did it begin, what's important in this relationship, what could I do if the Senate approved me as ambassador, which they finally did, what could I do to help improve it, make it better, build this relationship for the future. So that's what I did before coming out. I thought a lot, I read a lot, I studied your language a bit, and I'll continue to do so.
And you plan to pursue more, to learn more of Thai language?
I'll try. It's a wonderful language. ผมรักมากกับภาษาไทย So I'll continue to try to learn Thai and to get better so that I can speak a little more Thai.
Do you have any special sentence or favorite phrase in Thai that you like?
โชคดี
โชคดี
That's probably my favorite phrase.
ขอบพระคุณค่ะ Thank you very much
ขอบคุณครับ
Ambassador Thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining me
Thank you very much.
ขอบคุณค่ะ
Thank you.
มุมมองจากท่านเอกอัครราชทูตสหรัฐประจำประเทศไทยนะคะท่านทูตกลินเดวิสค่ะในโอกาสที่มาประจำอยู่ที่เมืองไทยประมาณ1เดือนนะคะกับการรอคอยเกินกว่า10เดือนสำหรับเอกอัครราชทูตสหรัฐประจำประเทศไทยท่านที่43มาในช่วงเวลาที่สำคัญนะคะและวันนี้ได้รับฟังมุมมองแนวทางการทำงานของท่านไปแล้วค่ะทั้งหมดคือตอบโจทย์และที่นี่ไทย PBS สำหรับคืนนี้ดิฉันณฐา โกมลวาทินสวัสดีค่ะ